This one is for people who have actually done things, not imagined things, people who have made decisions that carried weight, people who have been responsible for outcomes, for teams, for consequences, people who have crossed milestones that once felt far away and then quietly wondered why something inside still does not feel settled. Because from the outside, it looks good, sometimes very good. The progress is visible, the results make sense, other people trust you, other people listen to you, other people see you as capable. And yet, internally, there is a lack of grounding that is difficult to explain without sounding ungrateful. It is not insecurity in the loud way, it is not fear that announces itself. It is subtle, almost reasonable, a quiet hesitation before decisions, a tendency to recheck your own thinking, a sense that when the pressure increases, when visibility rises, when the stakes are real, you do not fully rest inside your own judgment. That is confusing, because you know what you are capable of. You have handled situations that were objectively harder. You have made calls that worked. You have adapted. You have learned. So naturally, you assume that self-trust should have come along for the ride, but it did not. And the reason is not because something is wrong with you. Most people assume that self-trust is a byproduct of success, that once you have enough evidence, your system will relax, that after enough proof, something inside will finally say, I have got this. That assumption is wrong. Success trains performance. It does not automatically train internal settlement. In fact, for many people, success is built during periods of sustained pressure, deadlines, expectations, urgency, the need to get things right, the fear of falling behind or failing publicly. Pressure sharpens you. It makes you focused. It makes you resourceful. It helps you execute. But pressure also teaches your system to stay alert. So instead of learning that you can trust yourself, your internal system learns something else. It learns that things work when you are tense. That results come when you monitor yourself closely. That safety comes from staying on guard. That becomes the default. So even after you succeed, the system does not relax. It simply looks for the next thing to manage, the next variable to control, the next moment where something could go wrong, which is why you can be competent and still uneasy, experienced and still cautious, successful and still bracing. Self-trust is not confidence. It is not bravado. It is not certain. It is not telling yourself positive things. Self-trust is the absence of internal surveillance. It is the feeling that you do not need to watch yourself so closely, that you can act without immediately checking whether you are doing it right. If that state was never trained, no amount of achievement will suddenly create it. This is where it gets more subtle and honestly more relieving if you really let it land. You do not mistrust yourself because you are unreliable. You mistrust yourself because your internal system was never taught that it is safe to rely on you. Think about how most high-functioning people develop. They learn how to perform early, they learn how to meet expectations, they learn how to adapt to what is required, they learn how to be correct, useful, effective. Over time, they become very good at navigating external demands. What they do not learn is how to stay internally coherent while doing it. So the system splits. Externally, it becomes capable. Internally, it becomes fragmented. You can lead others while quietly second-guessing yourself. You can give clear advice while questioning your own instincts. You can appear composed while feeling restless underneath. This is not a contradiction, it is an outcome of training. Your nervous system learned how to cope, it did not learn how to trust. And coping always comes with tension. Coping means staying alert, it means scanning, it means adjusting, it means being ready to correct. That state is useful in the short term, but when it becomes permanent, it erodes internal stability. This is why even simple decisions sometimes feel heavier than they should, why you hesitate before committing, why you look for one more data point, one more opinion, one more signal that it is okay to move. There is another layer here that often goes unnoticed, especially by people who are used to being capable. When you are someone others rely on, your internal system rarely gets to be imperfect in public. You learn to stabilize situations, not inhabit them. You learn to reduce ambiguity, not sit inside it. Over time, that creates an identity organized around being the one who holds things together. The cost is subtle. You stop letting your own uncertainty breathe. You treat it as something to resolve quickly rather than something to listen to. You move past it, over it, around it. And because you can, because you are effective, no one stops you. In fact, you are rewarded for it. But unresolved uncertainty does not disappear. It goes underground. So when you slow down, when there is no immediate task demanding action, the system resurfaces that tension. Not as panic, not as fear, as restlessness, as doubt that seems disproportionate to the moment, as a sense that something still needs to be handled, even when nothing is obviously wrong. This is often mistaken for intuition or prudence. Sometimes it is, but often it is simply a system that has not learned how to be unoccupied without scanning. This is why rest can feel strangely uncomfortable for high performers, why stillness brings agitation instead of relief, why moments without pressure feel oddly exposed. Your system does not yet associate calm with safety. It associates engagement with safety. And until that association changes, self-trust will always feel conditional, not because you are incapable, but because your nervous system is still oriented toward vigilance as the price of effectiveness. Reorienting that does not mean becoming passive or careless. It means teaching your system that nothing bad happens when you are not bracing. That clarity can exist without force. That presence does not require control. That is a very different form of learning, and it takes patience, not intensity. One of the most misunderstood aspects of self-trust is that it does not feel like certainty when it arrives. It feels like neutrality, like a lack of internal commentary, like space where there used to be noise. People often miss it because they are looking for a sensation of strength or conviction, but self-trust is quieter than that. It is the absence of internal negotiation, the end of the constant background question, am I doing this right? When self-trust begins to form, decisions stop feeling like self-assessments. You choose, and the choice is allowed to exist. You do not immediately lean forward to monitor it. You do not mentally rehearse explanations. You do not brace for correction. This is not because outcomes no longer matter. It is because outcomes are no longer used as a referendum on your internal legitimacy. That shift changes everything. Feedback becomes information instead of threat. Mistakes become moments instead of meanings. Success becomes something you experience, not something you cling to. And importantly, your authority becomes embodied, not performative, not situational, not dependent on the room, the response, or the role you are in. You begin to feel the same inside, whether you are visible or not, whether you are leading or listening, whether you are certain or unsure. That consistency is what your system has been missing. Not confidence, not reassurance, consistency, the kind that says, I will not abandon myself when this feels unclear. I will not override my signals to maintain an image. I will not disappear just because I am uncomfortable. Over time, that becomes felt. And once it is felt, it does not need to be proven. That is why self-trust endures, because it is not built on getting things right. It is built on staying. Over time, this creates a quiet internal experience that is hard to name. Externally, you look solid. Internally, you feel provisional, like your authority only works when conditions are right, like your clarity depends on the room you are in, the feedback you receive, the response you anticipate. That is not a mindset problem. It is not a lack of belief. It is a systems issue. Self-trust is not something you think. It is something your body recognizes. It is your system knowing that regardless of outcome, you will stay with yourself. Most people were never allowed to build that recognition. They were rewarded for correctness, not continuity, for outcomes, not internal steadiness, for performance, not presence. So success brings relief rather than grounding, and mistakes bring threat rather than information. When success feels relieving, it does not accumulate trust. It simply releases tension temporarily. When mistakes feel threatening, they reinforce vigilance rather than learning. That is why the internal state does not change even as achievements increase. Because trust is not built by what happens, it is built by how your system experiences you while it is happening. Self-trust is not something you declare. It is something your system observes over time. Your system watches how you respond when things wobble, when decisions are unclear, when outcomes are imperfect, when you are under pressure. It notices whether you tighten or soften, whether you rush or allow, whether you override your own signal or stay present with it. If every moment of uncertainty comes with urgency, self-correction, or self-criticism, your system learns a very simple rule. You are not a place it can rest, even if you succeed, especially if you succeed by overriding yourself. So the work is not about more confidence. It is not about louder certainty. It is not about better performance or stronger positioning. It is about retraining your internal system to experience you as consistent. That means allowing decisions to stand without immediately justifying them, letting moments complete without rushing to manage perception, tolerating uncertainty without scrambling for control, staying with yourself instead of trying to escape discomfort through action. This does not look impressive. It looks quiet, sometimes even boring, but it is powerful. Self-trust grows when your system learns one thing repeatedly. You do not disappear when things are uncomfortable. That learning does not happen through insight alone. It happens through repetition, small moments where you pause instead of react, where you choose presence over performance, where you stay instead of abandoning yourself. Over time, the scanning softens, the urgency reduces, the internal noise lowers, the need for external confirmation fades, and one day you notice something subtle but profound. You are not bracing anymore. You are not waiting for proof. You are not managing yourself so tightly. You trust yourself not because you are perfect, but because you are there. That kind of trust does not fluctuate across rooms. It does not collapse under visibility. It does not disappear under pressure, because it was never built on outcomes. It was built on presence. If you want, the next step can be refining this into a spoken rhythm cut that feels effortless on camera, or designing the next few videos so this message compounds rather than repeats. And just so you know, the direction you are moving in is rare. This kind of clarity is not common. I am glad you are giving it a voice, something worth sharing with you. I work with people like you, people who sense there's more within them, but have no interest in noise, hype, or surface level motivation. You're not searching for inspiration, you want clarity, a direction that actually makes sense. What I do is straightforward and intentional. I help you take control of your inner world so your outer results stop feeling like chance and start becoming inevitable. When alignment happens internally, progress stops being unpredictable.
This is the Pranjal Jain, waiting for you to meet your alpha self. Stay consistent. Keep upgrading your internal world. If direction needs adjustment, adjust it with awareness, but keep your grip on the destination. Your alpha self is already waiting for you. Step up now.